chapter. The next chapter is TDS. Everyone listen to me very carefully. TDS as a chapter is studied after the chapter of payment of tax, because payment of tax may, here comes the linking of the chapter. See, whenever somebody deducts your TDS and TCS and goes ahead and pays it to the government will give you the credit in the e-cash ledger. Everyone over here now, let's go ahead and quickly do the chapter of TDS. Sir, TDS as a chapter, from exam point of view, I find it a C-graded chapter. Everyone over here now, listen. Sir, what is the concept of TDS? I hope you guys already know about it. That, sir, whenever one person goes ahead and supplies to whom, everyone? Government department. Who are the people who will go ahead and deduct TDS, everyone? Who are the people who will deduct TDS? Person liable to deduct TDS. Remember this, everyone. Who are the people liable to deduct TDS? Department or establishment of central government, state government, or local authority, or governmental agency, or person or category of person notified by the government on recommendation of council. And the notified category over here is, sir, any authority, any board, any other body which is being set up by the parliament or set up by the state legislature or which is established by the government and which government has equity or control more than 51%, then always remember that authority, that board or that body has to go ahead and deduct what? TDS. The next one over here is, if you are a society which is established by the government and which is registered under the Societies Registration Act, you are also required to deduct TDS. And if you are a PSU, you are also required to deduct TDS. Can you tell me, everyone, who are the people who are required to deduct TDS? Department of Central Government, State Government, Local Authority, then governmental agencies, or notified category. Notified category, we have whom? Authority, board, or any other body, then which is set up under an act of parliament or state legislature or established by the government and which government ka equity or control is more than 51%. Then if you are a society which is registered society and which is set up by the government, or if you are a PSU, you have to go ahead and deduct TDS. Remembering who has to deduct TDS is very important. The next one, although Ministry of Defense is a government ka department, but remember they will not be liable to deduct TDS. Ministry of Defense will not go ahead and deduct TDS. Now listen. So whenever one person will go ahead and supply to whom? The government department, local authority, etc. Government department, local authority being the recipient have to go ahead and deduct what? TDS. For that, being the recipient, they are deductor and they will deduct TDS. Supposingly the invoice is 3 lakh rupees plus GST over here, they will deduct only on 3 lakh rupees. They will not go ahead and deduct on what? The GST amount. Now, the TDS amount which is deducted, they will go ahead and pay it to the government. Okay, everyone? But the remaining amount ka payment will be done to you. Now, you will go ahead and say, sir, where is my remaining? Where is my remaining 6,000 rupees? You know what will happen? When the government department pays the GST to the government, the end files it return. Which is return, everyone? GSTR 7. The amount will come to your e-cash ledger. Always remember one thing, the amount which comes to your e-cash ledger, you can also go ahead and claim a refund. Now, the first point first, sir, when is TDS applicable? When is TDS applicable? Only when the value of supply is more than 2.5 lakh rupees, excluding the GST. Sir, it should be taxable goods and service because exempted, then there is no TDS. Sir, who are the people who are required to? In which case TDS will be deducted? Only when the supplier is a registered person, including a composition registered person. Remember, whenever you are supplying to the government department, if you have gone ahead and charged in your invoice CGST and SGST, they will deduct what? 1% CGST and 1% SGST. If you have charged in your invoice IGST, they will go ahead and charge what? 2% IGST will be deducted. Now, if you are going ahead and supplying to the government department, remember, supposingly the contract has been done with the government department and the contract ka value excluding the GST is more than 2.5 lakh rupees. For an example, you had a contract with the government that I will supply stationery worth rupees 5 lakh per annum. 5 lakh per annum. Then remember one thing, now every month if you are supplying the stationery and the bill is even less than 2.5 lakh rupees, still they will go ahead and deduct TDS. The main amount, the contract value matters. If the contract value is more than 2.5 lakh rupees, TDS will be done on every single invoice value. See everyone over here. In case of supply under a contract, check for the total contract value. If the value is more than 2.5 lakh rupees, then TDS will be done. And now every single invoice will not matter. Sir, always see contract value for determining TDS or no TDS. But deduct TDS on payment or credit, whichever is earlier. So whenever government department is paying you or creating a payable country, that time also they should go ahead and deduct TDS. TDS is always on payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Now, everyone over here, listen, one of the most important point for exam point of view, sir, when is TDS not required to be deducted? When is TDS not required to be deducted? Remember, no TDS in the following cases. What are the cases when TDS is not there? When one TDS deductor is supplying to another TDS deductor. Means if A, B, C, D category supplies to each other, then there is no TDS. Remember, no TDS if supply of goods and service takes place between one person to another person specified in clause A, B, C, D. Sir, goods and services are supplied from a PSU to another PSU, whether or not distinct person. Remember, one PSU to another PSU, again a TDS deductor to another TDS deductor, there will be no TDS. The next is when the contract value is less than 2.5 lakh rupees. Remember, when the contract value is less than 2.5 lakh rupees or up to 2.5 lakh rupees, then TDS is not required to be deducted. Sir, one point which I want you to remember, everyone over here, very, very important from exam point of view. Supplier is in the state of Karnataka. He went ahead and supplied to a recipient in the state of Tamil Nadu, for an example. But if the place of supply is in Karnataka, this person, when he will supply, he will go ahead and charge what? CGST and SGST, and in this scenario there will be no TDS. Remember, if supplier and place of supplier in one state, recipient is in other state, there will be no TDS. But sir, if supply is in Karnataka, recipient is in Tamil Nadu, place of supply is in Tamil Nadu, then Baba, no problem. IGST will be charged and TDS will be deducted. What will you remember? Supplier and place of supplier in one state, recipient is in other state, no TDS. Next. Sir, supplier and place of supplier in different state from the state or union territory of the registration of the recipient, then remember there will be no TDS. The next is when the transaction is out of scope, no TDS. When the transaction is nil rated, wholly exempted, Are Baba, when there is no GST only, there will be no TDS under GST. Remember, transaction is out of scope, transaction is nil rated, transaction is wholly exempt supply, transaction is non-taxable. What is non-taxable, everyone? Alcoholic liquor for human consumption and HP man. Remember, in that scenario also there is no TDS. Transaction on which tax is payable under RCM. One person supplied to the government department and government department has to pay GST under RCM. Then in that scenario, they will not go ahead and deduct any TDS. TDS is not required. Payment made to unregistered person. Remember one thing, only when a registered person, including a composition registered person, is supplying, TDS will be deducted. If you are unregistered person, TDS will not be deducted, because if they deduct your TDS, how will you get the credit in your e-cash ledger? Are we all clear till here, everyone? Remember, very, very important. First point. Okay, I'll tell you. First, you come to the right side. Whenever TDS will be deducted, whenever somebody will go ahead and deduct your TDS, always remember that person will go ahead and make the payment to the government and file GSTR 7. When he makes the payment and files the GSTR 7, government will also give you a certificate that your TDS was deducted, and that is the TDS certificate which will be given in GSTR 7A. Remember, if you fail to deposit the TDS, if you deposit late, interest is always 18%. Late return, the late fee is what? Now see, paying the tax late, 18%. Filing the return late fee is 25 rupees per day, up to a maximum of 1000 rupees. Sir, default in deduction or payment. Always remember, if the government department did not deduct or defaulted, recovery will start under section number 73 and 74. They will recover the tax which is not deducted plus the interest plus the penalty. And penalty under section number 122, it is told 10,000 or the TDS amount, whichever is higher. Sir, when is TDS required to be deducted? I supply to the government department. They will deduct TDS when they are giving me advance. Yes. Sir, they are not paying. They are giving me advance. Yes, TDS will be deducted. They passed a payable entry. Yes, they have to deduct TDS. Always remember, TDS is payment or credit, whichever is earlier. TDS on advance also, whether it is supply of goods or services. People, this chapter, although I am telling C graded, why I am telling C graded is because my belief is TCS say this time question should come. Okay? But still, sir, you have to remember from exam point of view, only if you are a registered person, TDS will be deducted. You have to remember from exam point of view, only when the value is more than 2.5 lakh, TDS will be deducted. You have to remember the TDS is always on the value and not on the GST. If you charge CGST, SGST, it is 1% CGST and 1% SGST. If you have charged IGST, they will deduct 2% IGST. Remember who are required to deduct TDS? Remember when is TDS not required to be deducted? Okay, everyone. Other than that, one point also you should remember, if you have gone ahead and done a supply under a contract, if the contract value is more than 2.5 lakh rupees, then TDS will be done on every single invoice, even if it is 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, it does not matter. We will go ahead and close our revision on the chapter of TDS. Done. Maximum expected 2 to 4 mark.